8. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, we're continuing our review of some of the stories that made headlines in 2013. I know we're still in 2013, but yes, just reviewing selected ones. Mr. Babatunde Ogala joins us now. He's a legal practitioner and also a former member of the Lagos State House of Assembly. He chaired the Judicial Committee, if I remember properly. Thank you for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's interesting looking at the legislative arm of government, and we will do that across board, both at the federal and state levels. And we do know that three basic roles that they perform: lawmaking, representation, and oversight. I mean, if we could, let's see, perhaps we should start from that part of lawmaking. If you look at how they've come so far, because you know, people have different perspective of the National Assembly, even the state assemblies. But what would yours be, for instance, if we start with the National Assembly?
Well, you see, for me, I want us to start from first understanding the duties of the legislature. You've mentioned only three. They have the confirming authority for appointments and the power of the purse, because that is the body, that is the arm of government that legislates, that appropriates. Is not the presidency, is not the executive that appropriates. The executive presents a proposal. This is what we intend to spend in the year. It is only the legislature that can say, yes, spend a much, increase, decrease, or even say no. And that is the most important.
That's a very controversial bit, because I'm not sure the executives, the executive arm of government, both at the federal and state level, see it that way, because they think, listen, we know what we want to do for the country or for the state, and so if you jack up, reduce,
that is also a misconception. You have just said one of the duties of the legislature is representation. If I represent a constituency, I should be able to say, this is what and what my people need. I am the face between the government and the people of my constituency. That is not to say, I personally object to legislatures attempting to want to say constituency projects and want to award. No, it must all be within a budgetary framework. So the executive itself makes that big error of not consulting. I don't know when I was a legislator. A commissioner once said, well, I also represent a constituency. No. A commissioner or a minister is an aide of the president who can hire
or the governor
and fire, or the governor. He's an aide. He has no mandate from anybody. So it's a misconception. When the executive imagine that the legislator who represents, who is the face between the government and the constituents, should not have an input. In Lagos, when I was here about September, the governor will say, write the list of things you think your constituency wants. He might not be able to accommodate all of it. He might not. But we all make the inputs, we shuffle it, we juggle it, and prioritize and appropriate within available resources.
Does that suggest that the executive arm of government can afford to do the same thing, especially when these projects are within states?
They should. You see, that will even reduce tension in governance. Look, what is the business of a legislator being the one to go and start digging boreholes? He should be able to account to his constituents that this is what and what and what I was able to advocate for you. Not me going to have to dig boreholes, not a legislator going to have to build town halls, not a legislator going to have to build schools, and he says it's my constituency. No, sir. I mean, but unfortunately the way it is practiced here, perhaps because the legislature itself has never been allowed to develop.
Is it not wouldn't it be a question of ignorance in terms of knowledge of what they're going in there to
Ignorance by the operators. on both sides, the executive and legislature. It's largely ignorance, where the governor still comes from a military mentality, sees himself as the all in all, where there is a jostle about who is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, 6, 7. You know, about the number of police.
I thought that was clearly defined.
Where is it?
2 and 3.
Where is it? Where in our constitution does it say the governor or the president is number 1?
No, it doesn't have to be in the constitution. I mean,
So
you know.
we know.
who is.
We can, but you hear, you see this thing jostle. The deputy speaker will say, "Oh, I'm bigger than the CJ of the state." You know, those are not. They are even not issues, really. I'm right honorable, left honorable. Those are not issues, in my view. But again, perhaps again because largely in our country, those we also put in positions of authority are perhaps not the right people.
I was just about
That's
to say.
I keep saying.
There's three major things that you have raised. I mean, Chamberlain, we're trying to make the point of the functions of the legislature within their functions. How have they performed? And you've defined, what you think is the most important function of the legislature, which is representation, and also comes with the power of appropriation as well. That's one. But then, in the process of talking about that, you've also raised the vital issue of the working relationship between the executive and the legislature, which is another point. And it was saying that in the process of that, we've also touched on, the kinds of people that we have in both arms of government. But let's focus more on the legislature. Do you think that in the last 13 years, even though that will be stretching it a little, would you say that we've evolved into getting even people that are more knowledgeable about what their functions should be in the legislature?
I think we are gradually getting there, albeit extremely slow. You hear the elite who tell you politics is dirty. I don't want to get involved. The elite will tell you, oh, I cannot start. I tell people, if I can do it, you can do it. It's not enough we sit down behind the TV or newspaper, social media, and critique and critique and critique. And those who critique, ask them to come and take appointments. In fact, they lobby for it. So they want the power, but they don't want to struggle for it. So we all pay lip service. So the quality, you cannot go and harvest what you do not have. You can only take from amongst those who make themselves available. So if good people stay away, my saying is, if wise men stay away, foolish men will make foolish laws that the wise must obey.
Perhaps don't understand the process, or some of them think that when they go there, I mean, we'll have some who have come here and tell us, well, I thought it was going to be in a certain way.
Yes.
But when I got there, what I saw was terrible.
Look, I asked the question. I have been to the legislative house. I am out. I am not out of politics. I'm going to hang in there. The experiences will be bittersweet, just like in business. Just like in business. You win some, you lose some. But you don't give up. What experience? Look, if it is dirty, who will clean it up? Dirty people? I think not. I think it's you, the clean ones, who can clean the dirt. Because a dirty man does not know he's dirty. So if we all shy away and we keep saying the experience, let us go there and make a difference. Let us go there and do our bit. Let us go there and struggle for this power. Look, the elites of our land, we the educated ones, look, how many of us are even ready to say, okay, Makwe has potentials, one of the future leaders. Let us now mass behind her. Everybody is about me. Makwe wants to go into office today. Everybody that wants to contribute wants a piece of the action. And when you get into the office, even those who did not contribute, everybody wants a piece. I mean, I can speak from experience. It's usually favor seeking. So it can't be all of us. We all cannot hold these offices. But we can project some of our best. But we can come up with ideas.
Going back again
Going back
to the functions,
yes.
of members
And performance.
and the performance of the legislature,
Yes.
how would you say they have fared?
You see, it's